Hi everyone, this is Jarle for Cloud9 Crafts. Thank you for joining me. Today I have another card for you, which hopefully will inspire you to enter into the current Cloud9 Crafts challenge. Let me start by showing you all the items that I used. So here I have that stitched snowflake backdrop and I die cut a piece of peacock cardstock from it. Then I used lots of dies, which included the Winter Critters Huggers, and then also the Winter Critter Huggers Winter add-on. This is really a mouthful. So here off camera I die cut all of my pieces. So I think I used 4 kinds of cardstock. So I have the paperback cardstock, then I have vanilla malt, chocolate bar cardstock and ballet slippers for those blushy cheeks. And then for that mouth and the nose, I have used black licorice cardstock. Now to make the eyes look black, I also cut a little bit of scrap pieces of paper out of that black licorice cardstock, and I glued this behind the eyes so that the eyes could be stark black. You can also decide to ink blend the edges of all those die cuts a bit, but I did decide to keep it rather simple. Then here all of the die cuts from the add-ons, the winter add-ons, and I just used some irregular white paper for this and then the chili pepper Lawn Fawn cardstock. I wanted to keep my colors very limited. So that's why I only went with white and red. I wanted my critter to stand on some ground, so for that I used some pixie dust cardstock, also by Lawn Fawn, and then I die cut this with a simple stitched border. Now you might have already guessed it, but I chose to make a deer out of all those die cuts, which is very cool about those dies, or about that die set, is that you can make lots and lots of different critters. So you have a deer, I think you also have an owl, a chipmunk, a duck, I believe also, a raccoon, etc. So here I'm just assembling everything. I'm just using some liquid glue for this and my tweezers, which is, as I mentioned before, my most used crafty item. Now I'm taking those eyes, putting some glue behind everything, and then gluing it down onto that critter. I think it's very therapeutic to see that critter come together by gluing down all of those little pieces. Now that the critter is mainly done, I'm just assembling all those accessories, all those add-ons, like that Santa hat and then those mittens, so that everything comes together nicely and that I can make kind of a Christmas card with this one. Just doing the final touches here, so I've already added my scarf, that Santa hat, and that little cup of hot cocoa with some whipped cream, and I'm just finishing off this little critter. Now here I am taking that stitched snowflake backdrop and I glued down that pixie dust cardstock, which should be the ground of my cards. Now you will see me do some ink blending later, so if I were to do this again, I would only adhere that ground after the ink blending. But I totally forgot that I actually planned of ink blending it a little bit, so that's why I already glued it down. So I'm taking some pine needles, I think, and a little blending brush, and I'm just going over all of the edges just to give my card panel a little bit more of definition. I like it when the outer edges of the panel are more defined like this. It adds a bit of interest to my cards. Now for the sentiment, I used the Thanks a Latte stamp set, and I used the sentiment Warm Wishes. I prepped my black cardstock with some anti-static powder, and then I stamped my sentiment with a stamping block and my beloved Versamark ink. So here I am taking some white embossing powder, tapping off all the excess and heat setting it off camera. I decided to use one of those sentiment banners to get my sentiment on just straight. I'm not very good in cutting with my scissors, and here I am with a dry cloth. I am making sure that all of the excess anti-static powder is wiped away. I wanted to give my critter a little bit of dimension, so I used lots and lots of scrapbook adhesive foam squares. I put this on the back of my critter, and now I'm releasing all of that backing paper and then putting this on top of my cards. I'm making sure the placement is just right so that my sentiment fits perfectly also. Just like with that critter, I popped up that sentiment also with some smaller foam squares. For my card base, I used my scoreboard and a bone folder to make my card base, and then I am just using a regular tape runner to adhere my card panel onto that card base. I use this method so everything goes on nicely and straight. For some finishing touches, I'm using my white gel pen just to add a little bit of polka dots onto that scarf. I think this adds a little bit of something to my critter. Then I am using also my Nouveau bottle, my glitter drops, I think it's called, to add some drops into the background where all the snowflakes are. And then for the final details, I'm using stickles, and I'm putting this on top of that Santa hat and also on top of that whipped cream. So it gives a little bit of extra dimension and a little bit of extra shimmer. It's those details that make a card complete. And this finishes off my warm and cozy card. I really hope you like it. You can check all of the supplies I used in the description box below. I will add a link there. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to this channel, and I will see you very soon. Bye!